Greetings, Ian from RTO here. Hope you're all well. Welcome to another episode of Battle of the Debuts, where we take two bands with their debut albums from the same sort of genre and their influences and see which one comes out on top. So today we have got two giants of the glam movement that was there at the beginning. We're talking about T-Rex and Roxy Music. Now, as ever, we always start with the one that came out first, and if you hear a funny noise, it's our Rocky snoring. So if you hear this funny noise, it's only Rocky snoozing. It's quite loud today. Anyway, where was we? Yes, T-Rex, self-debut album by T-Rex. Of course, he'd already released 4 albums as Tyrannosaurus Rex, but in the books this goes down as a debut album for T-Rex. Released on the 18th of December 1970. And the album continued the shift between its predecessor. So this is sort of with the Beard of Stars, of course, they started to change this. You started to change the sound. A bit tongue-tied this morning, but this is, he took it another stage higher than on that album. When he decided to change the title, what he didn't know what to call it, so he came up with calling The Wizard one of the titles of the tracks, or Children of Rarn, but he opted to just call it self-titled T-Rex. And Mark Bolan wanted to be pictured with his electric guitar on the cover to suit the electric image that he was trying to create. But as I said, this is a more further emphasis on electronic rock sound and the additional strings instead of like the folky sound they had on A Beard of Stars. So, who plays on this one? Well, we've got Mark Bolan, of course, who does vocals, guitar, bass and organ. Mickey Finn, drums, bass, pixiephone and vocals. Additional musicians on here and artists are Tony Visconti, who played bass, piano and recorder and string arrangements, and he was also the producer. Howard Kalen and Mark Volman were backing vocals, and the engineer for this one was the one and only Mr. Roy Thomas Baker. Okay, that album opens up with The Children of Rarn. This is a nice little piece. It's got a lovely piece of keyboard in this. Still in the vein of rock, folk rock. It's a really good little track. It's only 53 seconds long, but it's a nice little piece. Then we get Jewel. This is when we start to experiment a little bit more, developing the sound from the Beard album. Beard of Souls, isn't it? Beard of Stars. Where was Souls from? Really starting to experiment and develop the sound. It's got a really good guitar solo on that one, and I like that track a lot. The Visit, again a little 2-minute little track. It's got a lot of acoustic guitars in here, but the acoustic guitar sounds a little bit more heavy, if you get what I'm saying. You can't get really heavy acoustic guitar, of course, but this sounds a little bit richer. It's a really good track. Childe, nice riffs in this one. It's starting to get more of them rock riffs. The percussion sounds really good, and trying to sort of keep in vein with the earlier stuff, but trying to modernise it. It's a really good track. Then we get a track called This Time of Love Is Now. This has got more of that bongos which you associate with the Tyrannosaurus Rex tracks, but again he's trying to get that different sound on the guitars. Really good track. Diamond Meadows. Some little bit of rocky guitar at the beginning of this. It's a nice gentle track as well. So you got this distinctive riff at the beginning, and then he just eases into a nice gentle little track. Then we get Rouge's Star. Now, personally, it's not a particular favourite of mine, but what I will say about this track, it's very, very trying to move away from the folk and more into the rock. And I appreciate what he's doing with this track. I don't particularly like it, but when you sit and listen to it, you can see what he was trying to achieve. Beltane Walk. Again, very crossover. And he does this within the track. It starts off more Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then it goes into more a rocky sound that you would get with T-Rex in later years. Very good track to sort of get that across to people. Then we get Is It Love. Nice track, like the bongo playing for Mickey Finn on this. Really good. You got a little tap in there. Then we get 1 Inch Rock, always a favourite of mine. Again, it is a combination of the old and the new together. Still developing this sound. It's really good. I mean, bongos would feature on a lot of T-Rex's stuff anyway, but it's just developing that sound. It's a really good track, one of my favourites. Summer Deep, again, it's just a pleasant track. It's a tracking as work in progress, that one. Get a lot of this vibes on the next album, of course. Then we get Seagull Woman. I like this track a lot. It's really developing that acoustic sound and making it more electric. Great solo from Mark on this. Terrific stuff. Suneye. This is taking the acoustic sound and just, it sounds more mature than it did on A Beard of Stars. It's a very more mature sounding acoustic number. Very, very good, and it's a really good vocal from Mark. His vocals are a lot stronger on that. Then we get my favourite track on here. It's one of my favourite tracks by T-Rex, The Wizard. As I said when we ranked the albums, I think this is the very, very first T-Rex track. I think he really started to get, this is what I want to do, and the playing on this is great. It's more electric driven. Excellent song. Then you get Children of Rarn, the Reprise, just a little bit more of that track. But if you've got the American album, you get Ride a White Swan, which was a big hit at the same time this album came out. Very good album. Definitely the transition album. Work in progress. And they had certainly moved on from A Beard of Stars though, and to get this more rocky sound. I really like this album. I even like the ones after it even more, but this is a good start for that transition. I like the idea they wanted to go away from the folk, so he changed the name of the band to shorten it to T-Rex, give it another identity, and you can tell the difference between the two, the last Tyrannosaurus and the first T-Rex. They'd moved on a lot, and they went more on to develop this with the next album, which was of course Electric Warrior. A great album. That's what I think, but what do the critics think? Well, upon release, Rolling Stone magazine published a glowing review. Shock horror. And they said, I'll have to read this to you. It's difficult to isolate any one of two songs as being special favourites, reviewer Todd Everett praised the band for their ability to intermix vocal and instrumental sounds. He said the voices often go into a feedback of guitar imitation. It's not the kind of trick every group should try. I think it worked. And then in retrospective review, Mark Deming of AllMusic wrote, T-Rex is the quiet before the storm of Electric Warrior, and I totally agree. And it retains a loopy energy and easy charm that makes it one of Mark Bolan's watershed works. So what did the fans think? Well, it broke T-Rex in the UK, following the surprise success of then their recent single Ride a White Swan that got to number 2 in the charts, and then Hot Love got to number 1. The album was listed by the official chart company's website, having eventually reached a chart peak of number 7 and accumulated several runs on the charts totaling 25 weeks. This, however, took place during the 1971 UK postal worker strike, which during that period no album chart was issued. Therefore the site recognises the Melody Maker chart for February-April 1971, but the Guinness Book of Hit Singles did not recognise any chart missing weeks listed. So they said it peaked at number 13. So who do you believe? Stupid, isn't it? I don't get it. So it did right, you know, number 7, number 10. It's a top 20 hit debut album, top 20 in the UK. Pretty good start. It also got to number 37 in Australia, for those that want to know this stuff. AllMusic gave it 4 stars and Rolling Stone gave it very favourable. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of this. Song quality. Mark Bolan always wrote some great songs. His words are it's like music to poetry. Very, very clever words. He wrote books and he wrote little short stories. So I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 for the song quality. Production. Tony Visconti did a great job on this. He's a very good producer anyway. Got the best out of them, you know, that considering there's not many people playing on it, the sound sounds good and it sounds like there's more people actually playing on it. Okay, there's a lot of overdubs and that, but the sound for 1970, fantastic. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 for production. Reception. Went down a storm. It was the start of the fever for Mark Bolan and T-Rex. I think what helped this album though was Ride a White Swan and Hot Love. Very clever. Put out 2 singles, put out the debut album of T-Rex, and that's how it did so well. So I'm going to give this 4 as well, because the 2 reviews I found, they gave it some excellent comments. Cover design. Now, that is not a picture of T-Rex. That is a picture of Tyrannosaurus Rex. But I like the picture. You know it instantly whose it is at a distance. Oh, this is a Mark Bolan album. It's a nice picture of him and Mickey Finn. So I'm going to give it a total of 4 out of 5. So this gives a grand total for T-Rex debut album of 16 out of 20. Okay, next contender please. Thank you. And our next contender is the debut album, self-titled Roxy Music, released on the 16th of June 1972. Bit of a controversial here. There's so many different incarnations of this album, it's unbelievable. And released in different packages and different covers. I don't know. On the UK release there was no Virginia Plain. On the US release there was Virginia Plain. I think it was put on later. There was a gatefold sleeve, all sorts of things, but we ended up with this is the version I've got. So who plays on this one? Well, we've got Brian Ferry on the vocals, piano, Hannah Pianette and Mellotron. Brian Eno on the VCS3 synthesizer, tape effects and backing vocals. Andy McKay on an oboe saxophone backing vocals. Phil Manzera on electric guitar. Paul Thompson on the drums. The production was Roxy Music and Peter Seinfeld, and Andy Hendrickson was the engineer and mixer. First track on here is called Remake Remodel. I like this track, really strong track. Love the sax from Andy McKay on this, pretty good. Brian Ferry's vocals are just incredible on that. Then we get a track called Ladytron. This is a little bit weird. It's the style of singing. He sounds like he's drunk, but he's not. I just give that impression. What I do like about this is the string arrangements. And Brian Eno's work on this track is fantastic. Even though there's weird, wonderful lyric, it fits in with what the sound they were getting. And to add to it, you've got a great guitar solo from Phil Manzera. Absolutely stunning. Then we get If There Is Something. Certainly a bit different. This is totally away, again, different sort of arrangement. Works well. Brian sounds great on this. Then the next track is 2HB. This is more progressive rock than glam rock. I like it though. Proves that, you know, they can turn their hands to anything. I love the string arrangements on this. It's a really good sound. Then we flip it over to side 2. We have the Bob in Brackets Medley. Not one of my favourite tracks on the album. Again, it's all weird and wonderful. From Brian Eno. Got a nice piano work on this. Vocal arrangements are a bit weird. I think you need to have at least half a bottle of whiskey to really appreciate that track. Then we have Chance Meeting. This again, it sounds a little bit proggy. It sounds like something that should have actually been on the very first Electric Light Orchestra album. It's so proggy. Some great work from Brian Eno on it again. It's terrific. I like it. I like that sound. It's really interesting. Then we get Would You Believe. This is quite rocky. This is a good old-fashioned glam rock style track, and I love Andy McKay's sax solo on this. Really good. Sorry if I feel a bit bunged up. A bit of hay fever today, so I'm a bit bunged up. Really good track. Excellent stuff. Then we get Sea Breezes. This is a very, very long track. It's 7 minutes. I think the first 4 minutes are pretty good, and then it just meanders off, and they should have ended it long before they did. So the first part of the song's good, and the second part is just ordinary. Bitters End. It's a bit weird, doesn't seem to have an identity. I don't know if it's a filler track or something they were experimenting with, but certainly is interesting. This album has got some really good tracks on it, but this was a band that didn't know what direction to go in at the time. There's that proggy sound, and then there's poppy sound, glam rock, but it is a popular album, and they're a good band, and I like Roxy music, and I like the direction they actually went in. So this is an album. I don't know where I put it in an album ranking. I really don't, against the others. But as a standout album, as a debut album, very experimental, different sorts of tracks on here from different sort of genres. So yeah, I don't mind listening to it. I do play it now and again, and I always enjoy it. That's the main thing. I always enjoy putting this album on. So what did the critics think? Okay. Reviewing for Creams, spelled EEM, in 1973, Robert Krosko said, "From the drag queen on the front of the cover, to the fop finery centerfold, to the polished deformity of the music on a record, this celebrates kind of artifice that could come to seem as unhealthy as the sheen of a piece of rotten meat." Not very good, is it? And that's the only one I could really find. But I did have the little things with the stars. AllMusic did give it 4. Although he did slate it, Chris Stew's record guy gave it B+. Mojo gave it 5. Pitchfork 8.9. Q gave it 5. Record Collector gave it 4 stars. The Rolling Stone Album Guide gave it 4. Select give it 4 out of 5. Spin Alternative Record Guide gave it 8 out of 10, and Uncut 8 out of 10. How did it do in the charts? A little bit mixed. Australia 49, Belgian 80, Dutch 89, Japanese 58, Norwegian 23, and the most important for us, got to number 10 in the UK, and it went gold with 100,000 sales. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts. Song quality. I don't think Brian Ferry had hit his mark yet. Very weird and wonderful, but the songs, that the way they're constructed, yeah, they're not too bad. So I'll give it a song quality of 4 out of 5. Production on this one is fantastic. I think they did a damn good job for 1972. Even all the weirdness on it, everything is clear. And it for the time, it was a bit groundbreaking. I think this album was about 2 or 3 years too soon, to be quite honest. I don't think everyone really got into it until later on. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 for production, because I think the production on this album is terrific. Reception. I know the fans over here liked it in the UK. They loved it. I mean, top 10 on your debut, pretty impressive. I think it went gold, 100,000 copies sold. So I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Cover design. I don't like this cover at all. It's horrible. You'll probably find this in another show in a few weeks' time. It's not appealing to the eye. I don't know. There's just something, I just don't like it. So I'm going to give it 2 out of 5 for the cover. I just don't like it. So this gives Roxy Music's debut album a total of 15. So, according to me, and what I think, it's T-Rex. It is a tough one because I like both albums, but I'm going to give it to T-Rex because I am a big T-Rex fan. No, honestly, I think they're both were at the start of the glam. Both had different ideas of glam. Mark went down his route. T-Rex with T-Rex. Roxy Music went down another route, more and they become more disco. I mean, I don't know what Mark would have done if he'd have carried on, if he hadn't been tragically killed. I think he would have gone stick with what he knew because that's what the fans do it. So that's what I think. What do you guys think? You know what you need to do? Put it in your comments box, or if you're watching it on other social media, if you watch this from Twitter, just put it in a comment. Same with Facebook, just pop it in the box and I will tell you who wins it. I always do the keep when it comes to the likes. I sort of split them between both, but please put which album you prefer out of T-Rex and Roxy Music. Okay, that's all for this one. Next show today is album artwork, and it again one of them that follows on from a album ranking. I'm going to be looking at the covers of Megadeth, bit of thrash metal on a Thursday. And of course tonight 8 PM we'll be here for a live stream. Mastermind Dave answering all your questions, Rocky barking, usual sort of fun and chaos. So join us for that. Until us later, bye for now.